You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 265 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I am, of course, Carl Stebbings, and joining me live in the fairly warm P2K studios this evening is my co-host, Matt Smith.
Well, for a very good evening. Have you got over the shock that I hit you with when you walked up the stairs today?
What, you got everything ready in the studio?
Excuse me, what kind of a thing is that to say? It's a bit of a shock for Carlos Cage.
The revelation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as we were coming up the stairs, essentially, I was discussing several things in the show notes, and he was a little bit shocked, ladies and gentlemen, because I have actually read the show notes.
Yes,
week.
For the first time in 265 episodes.
Hey, now excuse me, I missed the first 38 in my defence.
All right, 230 odd episodes. That's read the show notes. Well done, Matt.
Thanks very much. It's a proud day for me.
Good. Are you all right?
Yes, I am. Yes, absolutely. Have you got over the shock?
I know. I'm just trying to get off the subject because it was kind of mind shattering.
But indeed, yes, I am very well. I had a very, very, very exciting weekend last weekend, which I'll discuss momentarily. Good
week.
Yeah, not bad. It's sort of Easter holiday, so it's been quite quiet for
kids are off.
Yeah, the kids are all off. So I've been polishing my vehicle. Yeah, polishing the wheels at work to make sure that it's all shiny and ready.
The wheels of industry.
Yeah, we've been treating them to a nice valet, so they're all smelling fresh and not of children, which is my favourite kind of smell. No children.
Funnily enough, I cleaned my lorry yesterday as well.
Did you?
Right. Yes, I did.
Get you. Still, never mind.
Prince Edward got a good clean.
I beg your pardon?
My lorry's called Prince Edward.
That's a type of potato, isn't it?
I don't know.
No, okay. All right.
So,
anyway,
joining us, as always this
before
week,
we lose control,
is the head of AV, it's Neville Bounds.
Yes, hello. And it's been very warm here as well, actually. 24 degrees outside today. So
I know.
Mrs. Nev and I had a bit of a Chinese meal in the garden this afternoon.
Oh, how lovely.
Minor glass of wine.
Oh.
And, it was great, actually. Very, very nice. I think the whole of the East is going to be superb, actually.
Yeah, this is the thing I can't quite get my head round, isn't it? Because it's just like when I was looking at the forecast sort of like Wednesday, something like that, and it was sort of saying it was looking like the bank holiday weekend, of which obviously there are two bank holidays, the Friday and the Monday, and it said the weather was going to be sort of mid-20s. I was like, I beg your pardon. It's like, it's the UK. Bank holidays are supposed to be wet and unpleasant. Those are the rules, Nev, aren't they?
Exactly right. But no, it's been a bit of a hectic week again at work. Lots of driving again around the country. But I'm very grateful for the few days off, I must say.
I know. Have you got anything nice planned?
We're going to see Mrs. Nev's mum tomorrow in your neck of the woods. And that's about it, actually. A bit of gardening, bits and pieces, things like that. But, looking forward to it. And probably have a picnic on Sunday or Monday, I think.
Marvellous.
Sounds like fun.
Marvellous, yeah.
So joining us as well this week, he's back with us again. And it's our awesome fourth co-host of the show. He's the guy who puts the P in pilot. It's Armando.
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Armando, on behalf of all listeners everywhere, I would like to apologise for that.
I try and think of something more original each week.
Yeah, right.
I love it because that evokes some some physiological stories from flying. I think we talked about a couple of them a couple episodes ago. Oh. No, it's really happy to be back here live on the show, kind of another regular week. I've had a week to settle down after everything, all the retirement ceremonies. So it's kind of back to normal and doing quite a lot of flying. Got into 310. Yeah, I know. Let's see, flew a Tobago.
Is that like tomato, that sort of... No.
Yeah.
You're right.
50% of the listenership just went, oh, Tobago, it's Tobago. And we're like, Tobago.
And the other half went, we don't care.
Right.
So you finally got some flying.
The other half are Googling it and saying,
good point. Yeah, what's a tomato? Is that something you put in a salad? Yes.
I must say, Armando, I'm loving the T-shirt choice this evening.
Yeah. I'm representing the old school airlines.
I was going to say, if somebody could perhaps, bearing in mind this is predominantly an audio-based podcast, if somebody could just explain the visual reference.
Armando has a T-shirt sporting the logo of Pan Am or Pan American.
Ah, okay, very good.
Yeah,
yes,
very good.
Right. Okay.
We all need to get the aviation T-shirts.
Right, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So, did you hear that, Nev? That's the 3-line whip.
Yeah, I know.
I think we're gonna. Yeah, that's good. And then I think our special guest has something in the background too, which takes it back to the classic airlines.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Now all we need is some BA retro livery in the stories this week, and we're laughing, really, aren't we?
So on that note, joining us this week, our special guest. He's been on the show before, but we wanted him to come back and see us.
Absolutely.
Because we haven't had him on for a while.
No, far too long.
Far too long. Welcome back to the awesome Brian Coleman.
Hello, and I'm so used to being introduced as the Sir Brian Coleman or whatever.
Right, sorry. I know he's
It kind of took me. I've been downgraded.
I know, it's all right. It's
just like flying with United.
Oh, I see.
Ooh, so true.
Family show. Children.
How are you, Brian?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be back on the show. Life has been busy. Haven't been doing nearly as much flying as I've wanted to, but I do have a special airline story to share. Not sure when that's gonna be in the show plans, but I did something special with my favorite airline, and
Yeah, we're going to have a chat with Brian at the back end of the show about all his experiences on, I think it's an airline that we all, and an aircraft that we all know as well. But you've flown on the Dash 10 variant, haven't you, of the Dreamliner, Brian?
I did. So I've now completed the trifecta of all three of them under my belt. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, we'll have a good old chat later about what Brian's been up to in regards to that.
Okay, good.
So a big welcome to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Loads of famous names in there, as always, including a special someone who's joined us this evening, because it's someone I actually work with.
Oh,
so
no.
big welcome, a big welcome to Steve White, who's joined us in the chat room this evening. I actually do work with Steve. He's awesome. He's a top bloke.
Have I met Steve?
No, we had the road trip to Birmingham NEC.
Oh, that's right.
Last
Yes,
week.
yes.
So hello to you, Steve. We've also got Jenny in Rome. Hello to you, Jenny.
Aww.
We've got Paul Tricker. Tanya's in there. Auntie Liz over in Canada. Hello to you, Auntie Liz. Dr. Steph is also in the chat room this week. Hopefully she's not listening in her Jeep while she's driving, although she would be using Bluetooth if she was.
Of course, absolutely.
We've got Owen. Owen's in the chat room as well tonight, so hello to you, Owen, as well. Hope you are well and enjoying your flying career. And a big welcome to everyone who's joining us watching the show this evening. It is the 19th of April. And just coming up to 7:10 in the evening here in the UK on a sunny day, I might add again. And welcome to everyone who's joined us. We've got loads to get through on the show tonight, loads of great news stories, and obviously we're going to have a chat with Brian at the end of the show about his experiences with the Dreamliner. So we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news.
No, we're not.
Oh no, I'm just trying to catch you out. So we are going to hand things over to... Did you get worried then, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been frantically pressing buttons for minutes.
I saw Matt load up the Patreon in the thing, and I thought,
right.
shall I catch him out tonight? Yeah.
You are so lying.
I know. So we are going to hand things over, because it is the beginning of the month, and we're going to hand things over to...
It's the 19th of April.
Yeah,
How is that the beginning of the month?
Yeah, but a certain company was a bit late this month in
yes, they were a bit slow off the mark.
So Nev, what's been going on in the world of Patreon?
Well, the Patreon, of course, is your way of contributing to some of the costs that we have on the show here. And we always read out all of the people that have contributed. And this month, it is Adam Spink, Adrian Meacham, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Eric Graves, Evan Shue, Graham Haley, Jeff Ward, Jonathan Warner, Jordan Rose, Liz Piper, Masha, Matt Caton, Matt Donemeyer, Matt Bunting Frame, Myla, Owen, Neil Ranmorn, Nick Anderson, Nico Rega, Philip Labe, Ray Williams, Ruben Wells, Ryan Harper, Stuart Backer, Stephanie Plummer, Steve Andress, and Stuart Black. And also a contribution from Jenny in Rome, which we thank everybody very much indeed for. It's been absolutely marvellous, and your pledges are very important for the continuity of the show. So thanks ever so much to everybody for contributing.
And also, we need to say a quick mention as well. We had a donation today from Carl Lake.
We did,
So
yes.
a big thanks to Carl for his donation. He used the original PayPal method to donate to the show. So thanks to you, Carl, for that. And hopefully I'm going to get in contact with Carl probably tomorrow. And we're going to arrange for a visit, hopefully, to Norwich International Airport.
Okay. Well, at least it's not London Norwich. Be grateful for that at least.
For a little chat. So I'll have a chat with Carl tomorrow.
Indeed.
So
actually, before we move on to do the aviation commercial news stuff, actually, I just want to sort of say, actually, I had a very nice day. Sunday just gone. Had a little trip down to go and see everybody's favourite cabin crew, which was nice because they were doing a layover at Stansted, which was nice. So I went and saw Owen. We then went and had because I had Myla with me for the weekend as well. She stayed here, so actually she cooked an absolutely delicious meal, and I apologise in advance if I say this incorrectly. It was something called bubu barley. Thanks, Carlos. That's very grown up on you. It was right. Everybody Google it now. It's bubu barley.
Googling it now.
And it was absolutely delicious. It was well. You had it. You know
I
exactly
had it. It was very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it was sort of like creamy and that kind of thing. So Myla, bless her, she came all the way over here and basically cooked for us all, which was very, very nice. Poor Nev could sort of hear us downstairs, couldn't you? We were so busy cooking.
Oh
dinner.
yeah,
absolutely. So that was quite nice. But off the back of that, we went and met up with Owen for the day, and we went and also another friend of the show, chap by the name of Jonathan Warner. He also joined us, and we had a wander around Duxford, which was nice. We had a good day doing that, but only I could go to an aviation museum and find something far more interesting. I have to be honest. And yes, this is the picture here. In fact, actually, I wonder if we ought to save this for a Christmas competition, because Jonathan's face is an absolute picture here. There we go. Look, it's sorry, I should just explain. So essentially, the photograph is of an art. Don't tell me what I don't know what sort of bus it is that's behind me, but it's an old school, proper old school, like wooden frames and everything, bus that's behind, with Jonathan Warner essentially rolling his eyes at me. I think it
was Blakey on there.
Right. I'll get you, Butler.
Butler.
Yeah, absolutely. There we are. That's most of the audience lost.
Lots of the listeners around the world going, what are they on about?
What on earth is that? Yes. There was a marvellous programme, which I must admit I did rather like, that was called On the Buses. And Blakey was the conductor, wasn't he? But there we are. Yes. I'm sure you're... Are you just old enough to remember it, Nev?
Oh, very much so. Yes, along with Bless This House and other programs that were on ITV on a Tuesday night or whatever time.
Rising Damp, that sort of thing. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
yeah, indeed. But yes, a lovely day was had on Sunday, and then I ran Myla back to East Midlands Airport. So I had quite a day's driving.
I
had quite a day's driving.
Did you take the Smithmobile?
I did take the Smithmobile.
Oh, right,
I have to confess, I may have made a small... Oh, and sorry, Lisa and Lee were there as well. That's terrible. Sorry, it's two of my best friends, and I've forgotten them as well. Oops, never mind. Lisa and Lee were also there. You wait, the text messages will come in now. But yeah, so we had an amazing day at Duxford. I have to confess, I may have made a small boob going down to Duxford because in my defence, I'd never gone to Duxford from London before, so I did it sort of like on autopilot essentially, because it's just off the A11. You see, you just come off the A11 onto the 505. Yes, Lee's just saying not to mention the detail. I'm coming to that, I may have sort of basically, because I come from London, I'd never done it before, and sort of came off the M11 onto the A11, sort of heading towards. It wasn't really until I got to Newmarket that I'd made a wrong turn. So there we are. It's don't ever get on a coach if I'm driving, I think is the long and the short. Well, I'll probably get lost.
But Matt, you are on an island, so you can't get that lost, right?
Well, yeah. Yes, that is an option. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it like that. Yeah. Take that, put that in your pipe. No, put that in your pipe, Lee, and smoke it. What are you doing? He's looking it up on Google over here.
No, I'm not.
You are. You're looking how far I've lost.
No, I'm not. I'm watching the chat room because Pip's.
You are not watching the chat room. You're an absolute. I can see your screen from here.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ludham Airstrip. Just seeing where Ludham is, because Pip's flying to Ludham Airfield tomorrow.
Yes, but Ludham Airfield is not very near to Bewilderwood, which is where he's going. So,
no, he's it's a bit up north.
Yeah. North. It's going to have to be a taxi job, I think. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with...
Moving swiftly on, we're going to start the show then, as we do each week, with a rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt.
Yes.
And if you're ready, Nev.
Yes, certainly.
Armando.
Ready to go.
And Brian.
As never. I mean ever.
Let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story, and this one is on the Fox network. And it's foxnews.com. And Japanese airline lands test flight of new aircraft in Hawaii. So All Nippon Airways, or All Nippon ANA, if you want to call it that, has completed a test flight of a new wide-bodied aircraft with its arrival in Hawaii. The Japanese airline completed the first of two tests when the Airbus A380, named Flying Honu, touched down Wednesday at Daniel K. Inouye International Airport in Honolulu, according to the news reports. The four-engine jet arrived from Tokyo's Narita International Airport at around 7:45 a.m., followed by a blessing ceremony for the aircraft that was painted to look like a giant turtle. The test flight carried two pilots, three airline employees, and three passengers from the Japan Civil Aviation Bureau, the equivalent of the FAA. The State Department of Transportation said it's very happy, and Hawaii's largest airport is the 11th in the US, and that's able to accommodate the double-decker aircraft, which will seat around 520 passengers. It is double-decker. You have to be able to use a jet bridge on the second and third levels of the aircraft. Actually, it's probably only second level, actually. I can't. There's 3 decks on the A380, but there you go. The weather test was another step towards ANA's 2020
goal. Were you actually asking me a question like that?
No, I know.
That was very silly.
Of doubling the number of seats on flights connecting Honolulu and Tokyo. The airline currently offers 3 daily flights between the cities on 787 aircraft, which carry between 200 to 250 passengers. Honu, Hawaii's green sea turtle, was chosen for the aircraft's name to symbolise good fortune and prosperity and the company support of Hawaii's conservation efforts, the airline has said. Now, this is one of the destinations this is on my bucket list, Hawaii. I'd love to fly to Hawaii.
It always sounds so. It sounds so sort of. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. It just sounds so exotic, doesn't it? It's.
But it's good news for Airbus as well.
I assume the beaches are quite good in Hawaii.
Oh, the beaches are pretty good. Yeah. but no, we've run so many stories about obviously the A380 kind of. Sort of going away, dying the death as such, but at least there are airlines still,
Well, that's true.
Having
that
a few
is true.
new ones every now and again, so it's good news.
And Carlos, did you hear about here in the States that Southwest Airlines is now flying to Hawaii, and as part of the big ceremony that they had when the first 737 landed, it got laid on the island. They put a giant lei around the nose of the aircraft. It was quite pretty.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a Hawaiian tradition.
It is.
Yes, the lei is, yeah.
And I think Matt just had a heart attack.
Sometimes we wonder why it is that we have an adult rating on Patreon.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't anymore. I really don't.
Oh, I'm so glad that Armando's keeping up with the administration work. Anyway, moving swiftly on to the next story. And Matt, this is, of course, a Ryanair story for you, as always. But this just feeds on your love of tech, because This is a bit techie.
It is, absolutely. This is on the Mail Online, obviously, which is where I recommend nobody goes for their aviation-related news stories. The headline is, Ryanair launches new feature on its app that lets passengers size up their bags before they fly. So Ryanair has launched a new bag sizing tool that allows passengers to check if their luggage is small enough for the cabin before they even leave home. The Dublin-based No Frills airline has introduced the feature on its mobile app, which allows passengers to scan their bags using their phone's camera. Using the scan, the tool then tells passengers if their bag will fit under the seat or will need to go in an overhead bin or be checked into the hold. The technology works by placing a bag on a flat surface and pointing the phone's camera at the piece of luggage. Holding down the scan button, passengers must move their phone around the bag, taking in the front, back, sides and top. The app works out the bag's dimensions using mapping software. It then indicates whether any fees will need to be paid. Earlier this year, EasyJet became the first airline in the UK to offer a bag sizing feature on its phone app. Speaking at the time, EasyJet said that if used correctly, passengers won't be faced with any additional charges at the gate for bringing an oversized cabin bag. Ryanair's baggage policy often comes under fire for being too confusing. In February, Ryanair was hit with a €3 million, that's £2.6 million in sterling, fine over its misleading cabin baggage policy. I think, in fairness to Ryanair, actually, I think it's more they keep changing it. You don't know what the rules are because it changed from when you flew last. Anyway, the low-cost airline was slapped with the penalty by Italy's antitrust authority in relation to its new cabin baggage rules introduced late last year. However, the fine was later suspended in lieu of a definitive ruling on the issue. So yes, it's. I don't know. I almost feel I want to have a go at this. I mean, how accurate can it be?
Download this app and try it.
Yeah. Well, you downloading a Ryanair app, Carlos?
Yeah, I use them. I've used them. I will use them.
Okay.
But,
I'm just wondering if they could use them for the passengers as well. Just scan the passenger and get the accurate.
Yeah,
weight.
I'm not going to do well in that scenario. I have to be honest. It's just the seat will cost me twice as much. Nev, I can't ever imagine a scenario ever where you may end up on a Ryanair aircraft. I just can't see it. They don't fly from City for a start.
Well, no, but I have done that before. I think I flew. Where did I go? Luton to Cork, or was it Kerry? I think it was.
Right. Oh, long distance then. Yeah.
in the past, but that was before all the big baggage restrictions as well. So it's a different, different game now.
Different ball game. Yeah.
What do you think about this bit of tech then, Nev? Scanning the bag.
Yeah, but I don't know. I can just see if it's because the trouble is this is now a sort of absolute pass-fail scenario, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if your luggage is very slightly outside of where it should be, then you're going to get hit with a charge, aren't you? So there's very little room for discretion here, I would suggest.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, I wonder if and also what if the app has worked it out wrong? I presume final discretion is down to the handling agent, on the gate. I mean, I'm assuming there is a slim possibility that it's worked it out wrong, and
or you'll get someone who says, "Well, my app says it's okay."
Well, this is the scenario that I'm thinking. I mean, how accurate is it actually going to be? I mean, that's my worry.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Download the app, Matt, and give it a try.
Give me a minute.
Moving on to the next story, Nev, a nice little BA one for you.
It is, yes, on the simpleflying.com, and quite a good font, actually. I'll give the font a bold 8 out of 10.
Oh, very good.
For readability, so that's good. And it says that British Airways opted for Boeing 777X aircraft over more A380s. Recently, new information has come to light on British Airways' decision to purchase Boeing 777X aircraft as part of its wide-body fleet renewal. It turns out that Airbus actually pitched the A380 to British Airways, but was utterly turned down as it would be too expensive to reconfigure the aircraft to hold the new BA Club World seats. Well, when British Airways were looking for a new aircraft for their fleet to replace their aging 747s and future-proof any loss of A380s, they asked Boeing and Airbus for their best ideas. Boeing pitched the latest long-haul aircraft, which is the Boeing 777X, with its long range, large capacity and utilization of technologies that make the Boeing 787 Dreamliner so efficient. It was an excellent choice and a hard one to beat. But Airbus, however, decided to offer something a bit less orthodox. They offered British Airways a mixed fleet of A380s, some new and some retired from other airlines, particularly Middle Eastern ones like Qatar or Emirates, that they would help source. They would have the space on board to allow BA to be creative with their new Club World offering. They might have been able to go as far as offering bars and showers to their premium guests, but British Airways eventually decided on 42 777-9s made up of 18 firm orders and 24 options. These would go on to replace their 747 and 777 fleets. However, it turns out that the Airbus proposal was not even close to being considered by British Airways. The problem, as it turns out, is that the physical renovating and reconfiguring of the interior of the aircraft, even if the A380s were free of charge, they would be incredibly expensive to retrofit, in the region of $30 to $50 million per aircraft. Imagine that we find a suitable used, relatively new A380 whose owners don't want it anymore. Think Malaysian, think Emirates, think Lufthansa, said Alex Cruz, who's the chief exec of British Airways. Imagine that they give it to us at a really reasonable price. Everything breaks down the moment you start thinking about the inside of the aircraft. Put that into a lease rate, all of a sudden it takes the aircraft completely out of the market. British Airways has not ruled out acquiring more A380s, however, explaining that it comes down to whether or not they can afford it. If we were able to find some formula in which we could take more, we would. We haven't been able to do so, said Alex Cruz. So, yeah, it's all about the configuration of the aircraft, obviously the operating costs as well, with a four-engined aircraft, and also getting it into certain airports as well, because obviously not every airport that BA fly to can accept.
Because they do a lot of stuff out of the city, don't they? If memory serves, is that right?
Well, they're not going to get an A380.
Well, no, this is kind of where I was going.
Or a 777, I don't think.
No, okay,
I think it's all about how the stands are configured, and also if you think about the terminal, the configuration itself, you know, the parts where you get onto the plane, the lounge, the gate itself. You know, on an aircraft which seats over 400 people potentially, then that's a problem in itself. So, yeah, I think probably the 777X range is going to be the way for BA to go by the looks of things.
Those new Club World seats, Nev, look nice. I like
they do, and I'm hopefully going to try one of those out in July when we go to see Liz in Toronto. I hope it's all been configured by then. So that'll be nice.
Hey Nev, but what do you think about BA's choice over taking away your shower and giving you the Club World seat? Really, which would you rather have as a passenger, being able to sit up front or up top or wherever they put the first class cabin on the
yes. Where
A380? I mean, really, it seems like they're taking away some features for the benefit of cramming a few more seats in.
I'd like to be smelly and comfortable. I think that's the way I think of it. So I think that
well, there's an image. Yes,
the Club World seat would suit me quite nicely. But of course, this is the problem, isn't it? And you've got to remember, as you well know, Brian, that the only time the airlines make money is in their premium cabins. So the business class and the first class cabins are the only areas where they're going to make money, not in the cheap seats down the back. So they've got to try and do their very best for their passengers. But of course, you'd never know how these things are going to pan out until they've been in service for 6 or 9 months. And only then can you really tell what the load factors are going to be and what's going to happen. But they've been a bit behind the curve recently. Obviously, the aging 747s are getting on a bit, and even some of the original 777 aircraft, the ones that haven't had a refit. So I think this is a good time to look forward to new things from BA. So it'll be interesting to see how they configure their new aircraft.
So moving on, Armando, another tech story actually for you.
Yeah, that's right. This one is from TheVerge.com. And it says U.S. facial recognition will cover 90% of departing airline passengers within 4 years. The Department of Homeland Security says it expects to use facial recognition technology on about 90% of departing passengers within the next 4 years. The system, which involves photographing passengers before they board their flight, first started rolling out in 2017 and was operational in 15 U.S. airports by the end of 2018. So the facial recognition system works by photographing passengers at their departure gate. It then cross-references this photograph against a library populated with face images from visa and passport applications, as well as those taken by border agents when foreigners enter the country. The aim of the system is to offer biometric exit, which gives authorities as good of an idea as possible as to who's leaving the country as to who's entering. It also allows them to identify people who have overstayed their visas. U.S. authorities have traditionally relied on airline flight manifests to track who's leaving the country. Since the introduction of the current system, facial recognition identified 7,000 passengers who overstayed their visas and on the 15,000 flights tracked. Let's see, U.S. Customs Border Patrol, Border Protection estimates over 600,000 people overstay their visas every year, an offense that carries a maximum penalty of a 10-year ban from entering the U.S. And then, of course, the critics argue that building up a database of millions of people's photographs is a threat to civil liberties. Once you have that database, it would be easy to share it with other agencies, effectively turning it into a search tool for all law enforcement. So this is something that I think has been coming. It's inevitable that it'll be here, right? So I think cameras are everywhere now, and we look to. I did a lot of research on this when I was doing my schoolwork, my university work, where we looked to Europe for security measures in the way they've integrated their CCTV and facial recognition and behavioral recognition programs with databases of known bad actors. So now this is just personal opinion, but the government and the systems, they don't have the bandwidth to just compare everybody. So you have to be on a list. You have to be put on a list by someone for.
There's got to be a reason for them looking out for you, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, your image just gets binned from what I understand, and now that's still, in the U.S. I think we're still getting used to CCTV, things that you guys, especially in the UK, but in Europe, have been doing for years and years and years. We're very much still trying to get used to this balance between security and civil liberties. So, but I think in the aviation industry, it's inevitable that it'll be here, and maybe you'll even tack on more biometrics. Fingerprints are here, so you add facial and you add voice recognition, and you eliminate the need to show your passport, show your ID or anything. That the system will just let you on the airplane.
When you think most smartphones have facial recognition now for unlock.
Okay.
Don't they?
But it's a little bit unreliable still. That's my only concern.
I never have any issues. although Armando did have quite an extensive beard a few weeks back, and now he's not got the beard.
Well, I don't know. In 1 week, it's come back pretty impressively. Yeah. I have to be honest.
Yeah, I should be back to normal, where the TSA cameras shouldn't recognize me by 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh dear. Put the heist on hold till then. Yeah, anyway, right. Moving on to the next story, Brian. It's your favourite airline.
It is, and there's a bit of an issue, as I guess there is with the airline as well. I actually have two URLs for the same story. One story is dated April 18th and the other April 2nd, because the URL you gave me didn't work, so I searched for it myself. And do you want me to go through the story from the 18th or the 2nd?
Okay.
18th. Yeah, the 18th is
18th?
Is the
we'll
one,
go with the updated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
And it's, yeah. Just want to make sure the show notes match what I'm talking about, but accuracy.
You are literally the only person that cares.
and I'm over it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, indeed. The look Carlos just gave me then. Oh my goodness, Carlos has just curdled milk. That's what he's done. Anyway, yes, do carry on.
Oh, Brian's frozen.
Oh no, did we lose him?
Brian's frozen.
Brian. Oh, that's all right.
He's frozen in rather an interesting.
Well, I panicked because Nev froze at the same time, but that was only a brief sort of thing. Oh dearie me. Oh no.
Brian is frozen.
Oh dear. Who's going to do the story now then?
So Brian's story, whilst we try and get Brian back, was United Airlines' new livery reveal set for next Wednesday. United Airlines will be revealing a new livery on the 24th of April, according to a statement put out by United. Not the same leaked livery from a few weeks ago, it says here. This leaves us with a bit of guessing as to what United's new livery will look like. So the globe, we all know that United has the globe on the back. So United Airlines inherited their current globe livery after their merger with Continental Airlines. The new post-merger livery at the time was barely discernible from the one used by Continental. This undoubtedly saves costs while repainting aircraft, in addition to being an easy replacement for United's older tulip livery. Furthermore, much of the new United Airlines took on elements from Continental Airlines, including Continental CEO Jeff Smizek. And aside from United and a slightly more vibrant blue tail fin, United took this livery from Continental. Needless to say, this new livery didn't really strike a chord of brand recognition in the same way as United's tulip. The globe was justified as a way to highlight United's global footprint that keeps expanding, and now it seems that United is looking to get a new visual identity to help build their brand recognition. The most recent change to their livery was the new swoop with their new 787 and 737 MAX aircraft. United introduced a swoop livery. This modified livery saw a gold stripe that flows along the aircraft instead of cutting straight across in a line. So the tulip, United's pre-merger livery, was cordially referred to as the tulip. When United merged from bankruptcy in the mid-2000s, they introduced a brand new livery to mark the start of a new chapter in their history. They decided to keep the tulip because of a brand recognition. In fact, compared to the grey battleship livery, the rising blue tulip emphasised the tulip on their tail fin. This new livery also had a coordinated colour scheme of blue, white and small hints of red retained from past years. However, with the end of United and the start of United Continental, the tulip saw its end. So what's next? United could revive the tulip. Many frequent flyers recall the tulip, and it still has a strong brand association with United. On the other hand, United has been doing quite a bit of reworking on the colour scheme. For starters, United has introduced a Pacific purple into their colour scheme with their new Premium Plus seats featuring a purple colour. It wouldn't be surprising to see the same purple introduced into that new colour scheme. For now, we eagerly await April the 24th, 2019. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, Brian is back, so perhaps we should ask him for comment. Yeah,
hello,
absolutely.
Brian.
Yeah, I think it's a conspiracy by United.
Yeah,
they just didn't want me talking about them.
Absolutely. It's because you're their most loyal customer. They were worried you might not like it, Brian.
So come on, Brian.
Well,
what's your? Do you think they need a rebrand?
I think I am phenomenally loyal. There might be a bit of an issue over my opinion over, I'm fairly vocal, both good and bad with them. I was sad to see the tulip go. The globe was, I think, a nice thing to be incorporated into it. I've seen some of the prototypes or leaked photos. There's one in particular that picks up the purple that I thought was actually really nice, and it ties in nicely with their new premium economy class, the seats that they have there. Other changes that I've seen from the leaked photos, there really wasn't much of a change. I wish that they would have spent more time doing something a little bit more drastic than what they've done. So
yeah,
it seems to be a bit of a touch-up as opposed to a makeover.
And I've been frantically scouring to see if I can find any sort of hint of the...
No, I couldn't find
the thing.
anything.
I mean, I found the leak ones, but I'm not going to publish those because obviously they do say at the top of this story essentially that they are they are not the one. None of those leaked ones are the livery they're going to. I mean, I know we've only got to go wait till Wednesday, but yeah, it's. I found this on the story here. Actually, I do really like the tulip.
The old school, the old school United livery.
Yeah, I quite like that.
And the battleship gray was just so incredibly dark and depressing. But seriously, both inside and out, it was just a terrible color scheme, and it did not age well at all. Anyone that's been around aircraft that are painted in a dark color know that over time they just fade terribly, and I hated the battleship color scheme.
However, if you're Jonathan Warner, probably very excited about the fact that it was military grey. There we are. Nev, what do you reckon about...
I'm sorry, as you can see over my shoulder, the United Vacations towel, the color, I always like that color scheme, so I really hope that they'll bring something like that back, but they probably won't because the retro look, they'll do a plane here and there, but I don't think they'll bring it back entirely.
Yeah,
when I used to work for United Airlines as a teenager at Dulles Airport, it was that orange, red, and blue, and that was kind of a class. I'm with Brian. I missed the tulip, but as he was reading the story, or as Carlos was reading the story, I looked up some of the retro or the vintage United Airlines. And there is a red, white, and blue with some stars. It kind of reminds me of Evel Knievel, sort of Captain America look. I posted a link to it in the chat room, and it's really pretty. I would love to see that come back.
Right. Okay.
So while Matt's looking at, but Brian, do you want to take? The next story, Binns, as you missed your one?
No, I'm done.
Oh, okay.
I've talked enough.
Okay, fair enough. So the next story,
off you go then.
The next story, moving on, is on the NJ.com website, which is True Jersey. So I'm guessing that's New Jersey. And the headline, this is interesting to say the least. Matt will bring up the pictures, no doubt.
Oh, will he? Oh, right.
Mexico-bound airline passenger.
I'm too busy looking at United old liveries.
Oh,
to be
old,
honest.
that's quite good.
Absolutely.
So, Mexico-bound airline passenger wraps gun in an aluminium foil.
I beg your pardon.
Or,
what?
for our American listeners, aluminum foil.
Oh, please.
And
thank you.
Oh no!
Hides it inside a DVD player.
Hang on. Nev, please comment on that. What?
Aluminum.
Oh no, the DVD player bit, presumably you're talking about.
No, I meant the aluminum. But anyway, there we are.
So
I see.
Aluminium.
Oh.
How dare you?
Honestly.
No,
we schedule our meetings with aluminum.
Pardon?
No? Well, you say schedule all funny as well.
No,
I figure we just schedule.
Schedule.
I know we haven't finished the story yet, but yes, carrying a DVD player through the airport would be suspicious in itself.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when did they last do portable DVD players, Nev?
Oh, I think you could probably still buy them. In fact, we've just supplied some to one of our clients over in North Africa, actually.
I think that tells its own story, Nev, if I'm honest.
That's probably you. Yeah, that tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 8 tracks next. Anyway.
Yeah, but the what?
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't even know what an 8-track is.
Oh,
do you?
I do. Yeah.
Anyway,
Betamax.
Anyway, Brian, finish the story.
So, anyway, a passenger was arrested on Sunday after hiding a gun inside a DVD player packed inside his checked bag at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport. The Transportation Security Administration, or the TSA, agents found the 9mm handgun wrapped in aluminium foil when it triggered an alarm, and they opened the bag, the agency said on Thursday. The TSA notified Port Authority police, who found the man waiting at a gate to catch a flight to Mexico. Officers arrested the Elmhurst, New York resident on weapons charges. The man's name and age were not immediately available, and well, that's about all they say on the story. But it's safe to say that if you're going to try and hide a handgun, I can think of better things than aluminium
we've got
foil.
the picture up on the screen at the moment. Look, I mean, there is. I dare say, as that went through some kind of scanner, somebody must have gone bananas to see that and just thought, what the actual is going on. Like, it was just like that was.
Is that a DVD player in your pocket, or are you pleased to see me?
Well, indeed, yeah, may well be, absolutely.
I mean, wasn't it?
Hey, how small was that gun in order to fit in a DVD player, or was it a boombox from the 80s?
Hey, now come on! I had one of those. They were amazing. Yeah, absolutely. There we go. It's we appear to have an unexpected special guest, by the way, which I don't know. Armando, who
Maddie?
Who have you got with you there?
What? That's right. This is Maddie over here.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
Oh,
It's fallen out. There we go. No, fair enough. Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
She starts.
the strange man on the screen scared her.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. That would be Daddy. That's worrying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anyway,
What do you reckon
We don't
about
have-
this? Before we move on, Armando, this story with foil-wrapped 9mm hand pistols.
Yeah, so this is a terrible idea, and wow.
Oh, really? Oh.
I found out the 8 strangest things that TSA has found in checked or carry-on luggage: a python in a hard drive.
Pardon?
Freddy Krueger's hand.
Right.
Wedding-themed hand grenades.
Wedding-themed.
Is that for a quick divorce?
Drugs hidden inside of a knife.
Wow.
Let's see.
It enables you to cut your Coke easier.
I know, right? Like somebody actually thought, you know what? The drugs are bad. I should hide it in a knife. They'll never find that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there'd be. Okay. I mean, Nev, this does vaguely sound like some kind of story that Captain Al would sort of be involved in for some reason. I don't know why I'm thinking of him. Yeah, absolutely, hiding it in snacks.
But I think that there must be some great stories that never make it into the media about the things that people have found trying to smuggle through security. I'd love to meet some of these people and have a chat with them off the record, of course.
Of course, yes.
It puts a whole new meaning to a file in a cake at a prison. You know.
Yes. It's yeah.
I mean, that is old school.
A file in a cake.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I mean, yeah. Ironically, I've been watching Porridge all day.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
So moving on swiftly to the next story, Matt.
Oh, it's my go. Is it? Oh,
it's
flipping heck. Oh.
it's obviously we're going back to Ryanair again, actually, for this story.
Oh, right,
but
okay.
it's an important story because it relates to obviously what's been in the news for the last few months. So.
Yes, indeed. So this is on Market Watch. MarketWatch.com is the website, and the headline from the Wall Street Journal is that Ryanair to require extra simulator training for Boeing 737 MAX pilots. Europe's biggest low-cost airline, Ryanair Holdings PLC, has got. This website's got like the actual numbers involved of like whether it's up or down on the market at the moment, which is a bit distracting. Anyway, they're moving. That's slightly stressful. But is it because we're mentioning Ryanair, therefore the stocks are going down? Anyway, so Europe's biggest low-cost airline, Ryanair Holdings PLC, plans to put pilots of its Boeing 737 MAX jets through extra simulator training, according to people familiar with the carrier's thinking. The latest airline to take additional safety measures related to the troubled plane. American Airlines Group is devising extra training scenarios for its 737 pilots, the Wall Street Journal reported earlier this week, while Canada's Transport Minister said that the country would require pilots flying the jet to spend time in simulators. The moves come after 2 of the Boeing planes crashed in recent months, which killed a total of 346 people on board the airline, spurring the worldwide grounding of the MAX fleet. Accident investigators have implicated an automated anti-stall system in both crashes. Ethiopian Airlines, the operator of the most recent jet to crash in March, said it would mandate simulator time for its MAX pilots and has already taken delivery of a MAX simulator. Indonesia, where a Lion Air plane crashed in October, also is requiring MAX pilots to use those training devices. Pilots typically haven't trained in dedicated MAX simulators because regulators had determined it handled like the earlier 737 models. Boeing is working on a fix to the automated anti-stall feature, which it hopes will be approved by the Federal Aviation Administration in the coming weeks. The FAA has determined that the proposed training requirements associated with those pending changes don't require simulator training for the pilots. The journal previously reported that the changes had been made. The changes that had been made have been tentatively approved. Boeing Chief Executive Dennis Muhlenberg said in a video posted on his Twitter account Wednesday that the company had completed 120 MAX test flights, logging more than 203 hours with the fix. We are making steady progress towards certification. He said engineering flight tests by Boeing of the updated software were completed this week, with certification flights due next week. Now, the only thing that worries me a little bit about this story, perhaps, I don't know, I suppose the only one even vaguely qualified to answer this for me perhaps is Armando, but I worry how well in a simulator you are going to be able to simulate the incident that occurred. And I presume, obviously, these new simulators do have this updated software built in, obviously. I mean, that's obviously a fairly straightforward thing to do, but I don't know how well you could replicate what happened.
So I think you will be able to, and so when a accident investigation happens and finally concludes and the final reports come out, that's the intent of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, on an accident investigation, no matter how major or minor it is so you can replicate it and then train the pilots in order to avoid the same thing. So obviously having two mishaps that are very similar is going to drive a trend in the training, and this is it. The simulator producers, whether it's Flight Safety or CAE or any of those big companies that run these simulators, they will update the software in conjunction with or in collaboration with Boeing,
right?
In it, and also the airline. So it will be a very realistic. I anticipate it will be a very realistic training scenario that they will, and the story goes on to say that Southwest Airlines and United do not intend on incorporating additional simulator training for this. So I think each airline is going to take their own approach based on their confidence in their pilots, their training programs, or recurrency programs. But really what this story tells me is it's like, I think we mentioned it at some point. It's when Toyota had that stumble and they lost a huge amount of their worth. This to me shows the airline's commitment to the platform.
Right.
So nobody expects the MAX to go away or any orders to be canceled in these big airlines like Ryanair, United, and Southwest. They're just waiting it out, seeing how they can improve the training and then how to best integrate it into their fleets.
I mean, is there a scenario? I mean, if this fix has proved to have solved the issue that was certainly highlighted by these two awful incidences, is the additional training necessary? Because presumably the craft is going to behave perhaps a little bit more how people would have expected it to now that they've mended this hiccup.
The system,
is that a fair comment?
The system is still going to be in place. The MCAS system will still be on.
No,
MAX.
Exactly. I know, but
it's the software fix that they're doing is because the original system, it would trim at quite a high rate, so it would trim the aircraft really, really fast. So it would obviously it would throw the pilot straight out. But I think the software fix that I read online a few days ago that they're trying to implement would mean that the system would run a lot slower, so it wouldn't be such a massive pitch change for the aircraft when the system cuts in.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a lot more manageable if it happens for the pilots to.
So if that scenario were to happen again,
so there's a middle ground to your question, Matt. Is yes, the software will go one way to fix it, as well as the training issue will sort of meet it in the middle, and it'll be probably, I anticipate, rolled into a runaway trim scenario with MCAS consideration. So now it's something that gets added to the troubleshooting, whether it's a quick reference handbook or emergency procedures, where now instead of just doing a runaway trim procedure, you will consider the MCAS malfunction as a possible cause for your runaway trim.
Yeah, it does sound a story as well that bear in mind at Ryanair they've got 135 of these on order for delivery, with options for another 75.
Actually, I should just say Jeff has just said in the chat room there that he was saying that it's not the rate, it's the amount of trim. So it's not the rate but the amount of trim. And then IG999 says that it has to run fast to catch the stall, as per what Jeff said. So it's I don't know.
Not to sort of belabor the whole MCAS conversation, but one thing that resonated with me from Colonel Jeff's analysis of the whole situation was, how they measure the trim in hundredths of units, and this thing was driving 2.5 units every 10 seconds or something like that. So it's just like Captain Jeff is saying, it's how much trim the aircraft is putting in, and then how much you can take out.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So moving on to the next story, and Nev.
Yes, on the simpleflying.com website, Virgin Atlantic have set their sights on becoming the UK's second flag carrier, rivaling British Airways for capacity and status. Their purchase of Flybe has sent a strong message to the policymakers. They're serious about expansion and need more capacity at London's Heathrow Airport to become the best that they can be. Virgin have always been something of a cocky underdog in the UK. Against all odds, they've taken on BA despite huge differences in resources, size and profitability. They've been unafraid to compete on BA's home turf at Heathrow and to offer up competition, the flag carrier's lucrative transatlantic routes. Now, Virgin have their sights on being the UK's second flag carrier and want to acquire more Heathrow landing slots to aid their expansion. Unfortunately for them, they won't be available and aren't likely to be until the third runway is built. But despite this, Virgin are determined to expand aggressively with new fleet, new routes and strategic investments. Whilst the runway may be some years off, their ambition to become bigger and better will not be curbed. One of the most notable strategic investments for growth is their recent purchase of UK regional airline Flybe. The Virgin-led consortium, dubbed Connect Airways, saved more than 2,000 jobs with their last-minute rescue deal, and with it the opportunity to feed passengers into both their hubs at Manchester and Heathrow. Aside of the investment in Flybe, Virgin are planning new routes, planes and capacity across their network. They're investing in Manchester and plan to increase capacity there by 20% from May onwards. New routes are being launched, such as their Tel Aviv route from September and Sao Paulo from 2020. They've also indicated that they want to extend their transatlantic partnership with Air France and KLM later in the year too. Although they began code sharing with this group in March, they are still waiting for US regulatory approval for the deal. And then, of course, they're expecting delivery of 12 Airbus A380s over the next few years, with new cabins on board and 30% better fuel efficiency than the 747s they'll replace. These new aircraft offer a route to expansion and better profits too. Right now, British Airways and their parent IAG hold around 55% of the slots at Heathrow. In an interview with Travel Weekly, Shay Weiss, who's the Virgin Atlantic's chief executive, commented on the British Airways dominance at Heathrow, suggesting that more competition is required. Britain needs a second flag carrier from Heathrow, and we need significant slots at Heathrow. We need to change the slot regime there. We are pushing this forward. I'm sure it will change, and we are the only credible carrier to take advantage of this. Unfortunately for Virgin, the expansion slots at Heathrow will only be possible once more slots are released. And of course, more runway capacity is needed as well, and specifically this is going to be the long-awaited third runway, as I mentioned earlier. The Virgin folks expect authorities to make a decision in the next 1 to 2 years on their runway. And in the meantime, they are working on demonstrating just how serious they are. The purchase of Flybe was undoubtedly a firm demonstration of Virgin's commitment to feeder traffic. Whether it will have any influence over future plans for the third runway remains to be seen. And in the meantime, we look forward to seeing the beloved British brand going from strength to strength, it says. Of course, BA, when they acquired British Midland back in, forget which year it was now, but that brought a lot of slots for BA, of course, at Heathrow. That was a big strategic move for them. And clearly, Virgin are doing the same with Flybe and the regional operations here as well.
So basically, they need Heathrow to bring that third runway into play.
They do. Yes.
I didn't realise that the Flybe thing had gone through. I know there was... Because I'm sure it was only a couple of weeks ago we covered a story where it was all a little bit up in the air again.
No, it's all gone through. Yeah.
It's all gone through. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Goes to show what I know.
No, it's they are not a good airline, to be fair. I mean, I've flown with Virgin a few times now, and their level of service is really good. The crew and stuff are very attentive, very nice. And those new upper class suites that it shows on the picture that Matt put up on the screen there, in the upper class suites on the 350s, they look quite nice as well.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next story, and Armando.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go off script a little bit, Matt. It's okay, fear not. So we did have a story about the LEAP engines that are on the MAX 8 as well as the A321s. But I'm going to take this a little bit different. So as we were reading that last MAX 8 story, Micah, main man Micah, pointed us towards this story, which is essentially breaking news. So it is by friend of the show and podcasting family, Rob Mark, who I believe is a senior editor at Flying Magazine and is in Flying Magazine. The FAA announced Thursday, about 5 hours. This was published 5 hours ago, but announced on Thursday an emergency airworthiness directive against the Cirrus SF-50 Vision jet that will ground the entire fleet until specified maintenance is performed on the aircraft's angle of attack indicators. The airworthiness directive was prompted by 3 incidents on a Cirrus model SF-50 airplane of the stall warning and protection system or the electronic stability and protection system engaging when not appropriate, with the first incident occurring in November and the latest this month. The agency said the noted condition presents an immediate danger to pilots and passengers of Cirrus Design Corporation Model SS-50 airplanes because of an uncommanded pitch down may be difficult to recover from in some flight regimes with potentially fatal consequences. The before further flight compliance time and need to replace the AOA sensors due to the potentially fatal consequences does not allow for prior notice and the opportunity for comment from the public. The AD explained that the SWPS or ESP systems may engage even when there is sufficient airspeed and proper angle of attack existing for normal flight. It will include the stall warning alarm, the stick shaker, stick pusher. Talks about the design is from Garmin, kind of how it works, but this is very similar. So I'm curious as to how this was prompted, right? Maybe, this is eerily similar to what we're seeing on the MAX 8, where an automated system is kicking in when the conditions, right? So, grounding yet another fleet of aircraft.
Yeah, I guess it's got to be done. Presumably these decisions aren't sort of, done lightly, if you see what I mean. So that there must be, there will almost certainly be, strong grounds for, doing so. It is a bit scary.
Yeah, and that statement from the FAA pretty much sums it up, is when they reach a finding, and kind of just like we were talking about, it's probably a finding in an investigation somewhere that it's an aha moment where suddenly you realize, oh, well, this could be a potential major cause, and the most conservative approach would be, hey, we got to ground the fleet until we figure this out.
Yeah.
So I think Cirrus is going to find themselves in the same situation, although on a smaller scale than Boeing here.
Yeah, almost certainly.
It's got to be said, though, Armando, that SF-50 is one heck of a strange-looking jet.
It is. It was actually the best-selling private jet in 2018, I believe. I think with I don't remember the number, but it was something like 50 orders or 50 deliveries, something like that. So apparently it's very capable. But yeah, it is a funny-looking jet.
And Matt, I'm just wondering, I guess you might describe yourself as a nervous flyer to begin with.
Yes, yeah, that's an understatement. Yes.
How does this story affect you and your desire to go flying?
Wait, there's a desire to go flying? What the hell? No. I mean, now the Cirrus. What sort of aircraft is that? So that's like a little.
It's kind of
It's a bit like the Piper, is it, or is it a bit bigger than?
It's like
I like the Cub.
A mini
Seat 6.
Oh,
yeah.
Seat 6.
So the Cirrus, the original Cirrus model, the SR series, are 4-seat, modern. It's like a Piper, but made out of modern materials with modern avionics, with the ballistic parachute system. Extremely safe airplane, a little bit high performance for your general aviation fleet. And then the Cirrus Vision Jet was sort of the evolution of that into, hey, it's not a Lemon, or sorry, a Phenom, but it's a step up from a Cirrus SR-22. And by the way, I got to correct myself. It was A320 Neo aircraft that had the LEAP engine, not 321s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In answer to your question, Brian, I don't know. There's the MAX thing does worry me as a nervous flyer, and I know that Boeing will get to the bottom of this. They'll get it sorted. I have no doubt. I don't know. I guess it doesn't leave me any more nervous than I was already, because I guess that sort of fear, if you like, that's in my head is there regardless of the fact that, because it's still, however you dress this up, it is all right. It's two relatively close together incidences, but they are still insanely few and far between. And I suppose, on the one hand, it's slightly comforting at the fact that they very quickly found out what was wrong. There isn't this sort of... weirdly, it's the things like the MH370 that worries me more than anything else, because they still, to this day, apparently... I'm still convinced that one day myself and Nev are going to find it in a simulator down near Ellesmere Port. I've got to be honest, but it's... there is this sort of, that weirdly worries me more than, what happened to the Lion Air and the Ethiopian thing, because
one of those mysteries.
Those answers, we have not all the answers. I know. I guess we'll never have the answers, but Boeing have already very early doors, sort of more or less said, was sort of held their hands up to something not working out right. So, I suppose weirdly, actually, it doesn't bother me that much.
He'll be on a plane. If someone offered him a flight to Barbados, he'd be on it.
It's just... What did you say?
If someone offered you a flight to Barbados in first class, I don't think you'd say, "Oh no,
no, I can't see that happening in the foreseeable future." I mean, Nev, because you do an awful lot of flying, obviously, probably more so than the rest of us. What how do these sort of stories fit with you? Because you're not a nervous flyer at all, are you?
No, I'm not now, but I certainly was back in the day when I was 16 or 17, I would say. What you've got to remember here is what has happened is extremely unusual in 2018 and 2019 to have these sorts of fatalities is extremely unusual. Aircraft and airline flying has never been safer. So to actually have a fundamental design flaw potentially with this aircraft, or at least something that not all the crews were fully made aware of.
Yeah.
This is a really unusual situation, especially for a major manufacturer like Boeing.
Yeah.
But then if you go back to the start of the Airbus, in 1986, 87 with the A320, there were many software revisions that went on, and firmware updates and all sorts of things to deal with the handling of the aircraft. But this is so catastrophic that they both, obviously all of the EASA and the FAA have had to ground the aircraft until they get to the bottom of it. It will, of course, then be the safest aircraft you could possibly fly.
Absolutely.
There is no way they can afford to have another one of these moments. So they will have gone through every possible scenario.
And if it wasn't quite so extreme, I know, but I seem to remember, was it the Dreamliner that had the issue with the batteries when they first went into service? And you were having big fires in the air. And nothing as catastrophic as the other two sort of occurred. But
I think when you add up all the facts and figures and stuff like this, and it's been said about 1 million times before, flying is still the safest, I think.
I travel. Even as a nervous flyer, I still agree with you.
Yeah.
On that. So in answer to your question, Brian, I don't know. I am indifferent. I still don't like it.
But it's not going to stop you from flying.
No,
and I think that's something great to hear. So well done there.
Yeah. You know what? And I'm going to go ahead and throw in a plug for the beauty of the PTUK podcast. This is exactly what it's about, right? And so we're talking about the AOA sensors and this MCAS and this sort of automatic software that drives you down, and the tagline for the show, right? Written by a passenger for anyone. This is exactly what it's about. I know I get super hyper focused on the technical aspects of things. And that was a great question, Brian, because I sometimes forget, was like, Matt, Carlos, how does that make you feel knowing that airplanes are falling out of the sky?
Doesn't bother me.
Usually, when it first happens, it's usually followed with, and then after that, we're all right about it. But that's the thing. As I say, it's just interesting from Nev's point of view, because, as I say, he is a very frequent flyer. This is the thing. It's just interesting to sort of think, does that make Nev feel more nervous about what's going on, just simply because of the amount of flying that you do? I mean, I get on maybe 1-2 planes a year. Nev, you're up to what? You must be up to like 10, 11 by now already,
Oh, probably, yeah. I'm nowhere near as much as Brian used to fly, I don't think.
No.
And all my flying is relatively short haul, usually within Europe, and a couple of US trips a year, probably. But no, I think that when you're talking about such a major manufacturer such as Boeing, and it could have been Airbus, it could have been anyone that this had a problem with, but I think they cannot afford, and the lawyers will not let them afford be in a situation where they can have this sort of thing happen again. So there'll be extensive testing, many hours of in-service verification to make sure that everybody's happy with it. And then they'll still do more testing after that before it's allowed back. And obviously this has a commercial impact on the airline, on the manufacturer,
very
clearly.
much so,
because as it's grounded, they can't sell them.
No, indeed.
And
because
am
I right in assuming we haven't seen any orders cancelled off the back of this yet?
There was some suspended, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's different to it being cancelled, isn't it?
No, I think there was someone who cancelled some 737 MAX jets. I can't remember who, but the backlog is so large, I don't think it's going to affect Boeing at all in that regard. And who knows, they might pick them up later on if they need them. Although I think I recall that they converted the orders over to either A320 or 321 aircraft. So Boeing might have lost them, but it was something like 10, maybe 18 jets.
Not a huge.
When you have thousands on back order, it really doesn't matter.
So you don't sort of feel. Anyway, we must move on.
Lion Air canceled, according to Micah.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Which I suppose you can understand, because I mean that's extra sensitive. I guess perhaps you wouldn't be at all surprised to maybe if Ethiopian were to perhaps cancel orders, perhaps off the back, obviously, of what happened, perhaps.
Yeah, I could see them converting to other 737 jets, but canceling them and moving platforms. If you don't already have an A320, it's really expensive retraining your flight officers, plus all the internal resources. If you have any simulators in-house, of course, they become useless, and they're millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big commitment on the part of an airline to choose a particular series of jets.
Yeah.
So, Brian, while you're there, you've got the next story on Flight Global.
From Flight Global, yeah. And speaking of jets and Jet Airways, they're suspending flight operations after failing to secure emergency funding to continue operations. And in addition to this story, there was also a really good article from Cranky Flyer, his opinion over this, where he views it not so much as a suspension, but a complete shutdown of the airline, and that they will not be able to recover from this because, of course, if no one's willing to give them money today, why would anyone give them money tomorrow? Anyway, back to this article. It's in an update to the Indian stock market. The carrier confirms that it has canceled all domestic and international flights after today. It says it took the decision after being informed by the State Bank of India that its consortium of lenders had turned down a request for critical interim funding. Without such funding, the airline admits it is not able to pay for the fuel or, in quotes, critical services required to sustain operations. Wonder if that's flight crew by chance. Food. I guess food's not critical, but anyway.
Well, it depends on your perspective, to be fair, Brian, because I would find that very critical. But
yeah. So it notes that it undertook a painstaking evaluation of all the alternatives available and took guidance and advice from its board of directors. In my opinion, they said, run. No.
Absolutely. Cancel all checks.
Yeah. The airline had already suspended international flights until the 18th of April as an interim measure. Over the last several weeks and months, the company has tried every means possible to seek both internal and long-term funding. Unfortunately, despite its best efforts, the airline has been left with no other choice today but go ahead with a temporary suspension of flight operations, it says. And on and on and on. But basically, I don't think this one's coming back. And it's unfortunate that an airline goes out of business, but as they have always said, how do you make $1 million in the airline industry? You start with $1 billion.
Well, yeah.
And and I think these guys are going the way of WOW, who also recently stopped service. And I think that it's also interesting. These guys were being funded in part by Etihad, isn't it? Or really? Emirates, or one of the Middle East carriers. And it seems like every carrier that they touch with funding doesn't do so well.
Right.
So there's sort of a Middle East curse on other airlines.
Are they being, are they stepping in, though, because they need the funding? Do you know what I mean? Is that the issue? I mean,
it's where are they stepping in the process, right?
Yeah,
is it a strategic investment up front, or is it they're funding as a rescue operation and then the rescue fails? Yeah.
I mean, surely it's never good news as soon as they say essentially that they're unable to pay for their fuel. I mean that is quite fundamental in the operating.
I think when the crews start bringing out their credit cards and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, if the captain's having to pay for it at Heathrow, then it's not great, is it? I mean, it's just I don't even know. Did they fly into Heathrow?
I can relate to that story at the moment.
Or pass the hat.
Oh well, yes, indeed. Yeah,
pass the hat for the passengers.
Yeah, pass the hat. Yeah. No, well, in that scenario, you've just got to hope Nev's in seat 1A, I think, because that's just, it's he likes collecting. He likes collecting Avios points. That's why. It's,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's the best way to get some points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think if Nev was passed a BA hat with some money in it, he'd say, "Oh, another perk, great,"
yes,
and then put it on.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Quite right. Yeah.
Tick that box. Yeah.
anyway.
So the next story.
It's never good news to hear that an airline is essentially being wound up, I think, isn't it? You know.
So the next story on Flight Global is obviously with all the news and stuff about the problems with the MAX and stuff. Obviously, the airlines that have had to ground the MAX have had to obviously pull in aircraft from other places. So the next story is on Flight Global, as I said, and it's got here the leased jets backfilling the lost 737 MAX capacity. So it says as operators across the world scramble to fill capacity gaps created by the grounding of the MAX. They show here a quick gallery of aircraft that have been drafted in to the affected airlines. So they
says pictures, Matt, on the show notes. Honestly,
they've got Enter Air that are using a couple of 737-800s that they've got from Slovak charter operator Go to Sky. They've got on here Air Italy. Have taken on lease since the grounding began, and Embraer.
Air Italy wasn't that one of the Italian carriers?
No, it's still there.
Is it? Okay.
So Air Italy have taken on lease of some Embraer 190s from Bulgaria Air. And also a Fokker 100 as well the livery of Croatian carrier charter operator Trade Air. You've got Royal Air Maroc has taken an A320 from with Sun Express livery, which they're using that. Also, among other initiatives, Air Canada has been speeding the entry into service of 4 A321s it purchased from the now defunct WOW Air. The operator had 24 MAX aircraft in service on the 9th of March. Among other types, leisure operator TUI Group has brought a number of 737-800s back into its fleet since the grounding began. Several of these have been leased to Canadian subsidiary Sunwing Airlines, and also some in the old Thomson Airways livery. I do miss that. So they've brought some of those back in because TUI had 15 of the MAXs in service. Polish carrier LOT has leased 4 737 aircraft since the grounding began. They've been leasing some of those off Blue Air. The operator, Polish carrier LOT, had 5 MAX jets in service. One I know quite well, actually, Euro Atlantic Iceland Air has taken a 767-300ER on lease since the grounding began. The aircraft, there's one in the picture here, the 767-300ER. Matt's just shown it on there. Charlie Sierra Tango Kilo Romeo. They've in the Euro Atlantic Airways livery, and they've also took on a 757 as well to cover these MAX groundings as well. Arc Fly. Fuji Airways has taken a Dash 800 on lease from the group carrier Arc Fly, and also Samoa Airways is finalising an agreement to wet lease a 737-800 from Melindo Air. The Malaysian carrier has 24 of the aircraft in service, including examples shown above. Samoa Airways had been set to receive its first MAX 9 jet by the end of March. So it's safe to say that all these airlines across the globe that obviously were using the MAX, they're drafting in aircraft from various leasing and kind of hire companies.
Forgive my naivety here, which I know I'm rather famous for on this show. How long was the MAX actually in service for before
Not long.
This happened?
Was it? Was it towards the end of last year? Nev, I think it was end of.
Yeah,
I'd say it's 6 months-ish.
Farnborough, didn't we? So,
yeah,
about that. Yeah.
One of the questions that I have that no one's really talked about in the press is how Boeing's insurance policy over loss of use is going, or if this is even covered under loss of use. Oftentimes when a manufacturer makes a product, they guarantee it where their customer can actually use it. And certainly this is a huge issue where the airlines are losing lots of revenue. Many airlines had to cancel a number of flights. This story talks about how they're bringing aircraft back. I was just reading a story the other day about American who was either delaying retirement of aircraft that, of course, would cost them money as well by not having an as fuel-efficient aircraft in the air. pulling them back from the desert, taking them out of mothballs. And there's an awful lot of scrambling and route juggling that's going on right now. And I thought another interesting solution that American did in trying to resolve the problem or help alleviate it, they were consolidating some of their flights. So let's say if they did city pair service and they offered 8 times a day, they were cutting that down to 5 or 6, or they were simply canceling flights between lesser traveled cities and diverting the aircraft to higher, more profitable routes or feeder routes. So the airlines are spending a lot of money to solve this problem. And I just wonder from an insurance standpoint, what Boeing's liability is, if it's even covered at all.
Monstrous, I think is the correct answer to that question. Actually, Neil Lamorne's just said in the chat room there actually that the airline I was thinking of was Alitalia, wasn't it?
Oh, Alitalia.
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. Honestly, Jenny's going to write to me now, isn't she? I'm going to get emails now. Yeah, absolutely.
So the last story in the list this week for the commercial news, it's for you, Matt. It's a comfortable story, this one, because it involves your favourite comfy chair, the settee.
Right, I'm. Yes. Are you suggesting I'm a couch potato, Carl?
Not at all.
No, right. Anyway, Get.com is the website, and the headline is Airbus shows off new couch-style airplane seats. Airbus has just released the latest design for its new business class seats. The new seats are called the Settee Corner seats, and are more like a recliner or couch than an airplane seat. The new design is the result of a collaboration between Airbus and Devon, an airline seat manufacturing company. The new seat is based on 3 economy class seats being placed together to form one large seat. The leg area of the seats rises much like that of a reclining chair, and the back of the seats can be can be tilted back as well. While the design is much like a couch, passengers could lie down across the seats if they so desired. The seats have all the amenities that one would find in business class. This includes ample storage areas, overhead room, entertainment screens and fold-out tables, ideal for working. The legroom is a little larger than the previous seating styles, so the recliner part of the new seats can extend further. The new seats designs come as Airbus is looking for ways to improve comfort levels for long-haul premium passengers. The airline industry has seen significant demand for planes that can travel further distances due to passenger requests. However, the current seating options are not the best for extended range flights. In addition to providing extra comfort levels for passengers, the new seats are also significantly lighter than previous business class seats. This is beneficial to longer range flights and makes them more environmentally friendly indirectly. That's the first time I think somebody's tried to claim that their business class seating is helping the environment. The seats are being designed specifically for the Airbus A321 long-range aircraft at this time, but may become available for other jets as well. I mean, it's
I'll tell you what.
There's no pictures, unfortunately. While
you're reading that, Matt, if you go to your specialist phone there, you'll see some pictures. I've actually been on, because the story that Matt was reading there.
Phone, right?
The pictures weren't very good, so I thought, well, I'll just grab some pictures online. Yeah, hang on, I'm on it while we're doing the story, and Matt will bring those up for you. For those of you who are watching the world of YouTube, we'll be able to see just what these seats look like. And
I was just wondering, how do they compare to the couch seat that Air New Zealand has?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
But I mean, what do you think?
I guess with this picture now I can see.
There we go.
Differs a lot.
I mean, it seems... I don't understand the need for it to be curved, or is that just the way it's like... It just
seems a bit strange, isn't it? Curved.
Yeah, well, I
can see this will be a problem for me, because I'm the sort of chap that likes just to put his leg up.
Right.
on the neighbouring person, if you see what I mean. And if you know them or you're married to them, that's great. But if you don't, then that's an issue straight away there, isn't it?
Yeah, being stuck in the middle seat, that's certainly going to be interesting.
Well, yes,
you
absolutely.
could meet a lot of new people very quickly.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's one way of if there wasn't a Mrs. Nev, for example. I mean, that might be one way of becoming sort of accustomed to new random
or get
people.
asked to leave the aircraft. Yes,
or get asked to leave. I mean, the advantage you do have about being, sort of, a few thousand feet above the air is they're less likely to do that. Certainly in flight. I mean, you may be greeted by the local constabulary, shall we say, when you get
the picture that you've got on there it looks a bit squashed, a bit close together. Don't know what I wonder what the chat room thinks.
And I've never seen a locker. I've never seen an overhead bin that neat.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't remember the last time that was ever a thing, but there we go.
No, I can't see any love at all for those seats in the chat room. But
no, they're not loving it.
No.
No, I think the design that Air New Zealand has, where you can take the 3 economy seats and flatten them out and kind of where your legs go, they turn that into a bed, I think is a much better idea.
Yeah.
Richard Adams says in the chat room that it looks like curved cattle class. I suppose.
The curve thing is weird, though, because presumably that's taking up more cabin space.
You'd think so,
that's
wouldn't
what
you?
Because if it was in a straight line, I could kind of...
Actually, Mike has said that the wall in front of those seats makes it look more claustrophobic.
Easy for you to say.
After a drink, yeah.
Indeed, yes. It's well. Anyway, look, we're running.
I know
over
we're
massively,
running over massively of time. Yeah,
we need to move.
We
on.
are going to hand things over then to Armando to introduce the next part of the show.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said before, it's nice to be back. Nice to be back on a regular show. Let's get some military news. So, Carlos, you ready to go?
Let's go.
And here I thought I would delayed everything enough so Captain L would be happy and not have a military segment.
To be fair, you've done a very good job because we are, we're an hour and a half in already, and anyway. But it's the trouble is, guys, if we don't do the military, we get emails. There's no two ways about it. We get emails, and some of them are not particularly family friendly. You know how we like to.
Let Armando get on.
Anyway, sorry, shut up, Smith.
No, it's good. The good thing about military news is we can put it into Afterburner and make it go by.
Oh, I see what you did there. That's very
well done.
He's smooth. I'll give him that. He is smooth.
Anyways, we'll skip the introductions. Matt, pressing the buttons. You ready to go? All right, so before we start the actual military news stories, we're going to give a thoughts and prayers out to Lieutenant Colonel Richard Dick Cole's family, and really the Air Force family at large. So Lieutenant Colonel Richard E. Cole, Jimmy Doolittle's co-pilot and the last surviving member of the Doolittle Raiders on Tokyo, 18 April 1942, passed away on 9 April 2019. He was born in 1915 and listed as an aviation cadet. He was one of 80 crew members selected to take part in the famous raid against Tokyo on mainland Japan, led by Jimmy Doolittle. I think everybody that is a fan of the show probably knows the story. They took off from the USS Hornet in B-25 missiles. Lieutenant Colonel Cole was actually on the very first airplane that took off, which means they had the shortest deck to take off from. There was no fancy methods. They just, held the brakes, put full power, went off that short amount of runway that they had, and hope for the best. And so this man was the last surviving member of the Doolittle Raiders. They had a great tradition, drinking scotch and toasting each other. So. It's a life to be celebrated, but again, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his fans, and the Air Force family as a whole.
Absolutely.
What a legend.
So let's see. The first story that we're going to talk about is from The Drive, and it is about the Puerto Rico Air National Guard. If you guys remember, last year they had a fatal incident. I believe it was in Georgia or South Carolina somewhere. It was South Carolina that they lost one of their aircraft. So the Puerto Rico Air National Guard, or the PRANG, has lost its flying mission less than 2 years after Hurricane Maria battered its main base, and nearly a year after a tragic accident exposed a culture of apathy and poor morale. It will now reorganize its former flying units to support the U.S. Air Force's recent push to revitalize its ability to rapidly deploy and establish forward bases overseas during major crises and conflicts. Air Force General Joseph Lengyel, Chief of the National Guard Bureau in Puerto Rico government, Ricardo Rosselló, of the decision on April 11th, 2019. The 156 Airlift Wing had formerly received a new name, simply the 156 Wing. The day before to mark the shift, which will take approximately 36 months to complete. When the wing reaches its full operational capacity, it will have gained 18 personnel in the process of transitioning from flying the WC-130H Hercules or Hurricane Hunters into its new contingency response and combat communications mission. Let's see, this is the first time that the wing has not had a flying mission of some kind. It's been flying since 1962. It will not have any fixed-wing aircraft, and the National Guard Bureau says that the new 156 Wing will be the first unit in the Air National Guard to combine contingency response and combat comms together. So that's the short version of the story. I think the Air Force is pushing to have some forward bases, some warm bases that we can go out to. So this is the first time that we're seeing a guard base. Unfortunately, it is Puerto Rico, which is a pretty strategic point in the Western Hemisphere, at least for us getting down to South America.
I bet.
So, Nev, next story is for you.
Yeah, another slightly unfortunate story here on flightglobal.com. It says that the search continues for a Lockheed Martin F-35A operated by the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force that crashed last week into the northern Pacific Ocean. Japanese media reports indicate that the aircraft's tail has been recovered, but the aircraft's fuselage and the body of the pilot have yet to be located. The aircraft crashed on the 9th of April during a training mission whilst operating from Misawa Air Base. The aircraft involved bore the serial number AX5 and the registration 78-8704, the first example built by the Mitsubishi Final Assembly Line in Nagoya. US and Japanese ships, aircraft and a submersible continue to search for the missing jet, and the search area is reportedly 135 kilometers out to sea. Media reports suggest that there is concern that the aircraft, if not found, could possibly end up in the hands of foreign powers such as China or Russia. It's always the thing, isn't it, with military accidents that are away from home, as it were, the possibility of other people finding it.
Finding the tech,
yeah. It's a shame they can't find a pilot.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be a guest on the Airplane Geeks last week, and we talked a little bit about this with David Vanderhoff, who's a military historian. We sort of talked about some of the potential consequences of this technology falling into the wrong hands, or at least the adversary's hands. Nevertheless, this is an area saturated by U.S. and Japanese forces, so I think the likelihood of some of this technology ending up there is low. I think it's unlikely. However, just getting to the wreckage is going to be challenging, to say the least, because it's in over 1.5 miles of water. So
right, gosh,
we'll see how they get it. And then the pilot has not been found. I was checking this morning. So,
I mean, yeah, I mean these things are always awful, isn't it? But you just hope that they do at least find him, just if only for the sake of the families, so that they can sort of put some closure behind this awful thing, really. But
the next story is one about a group or display group that that we all know and love, especially those guys over in the US. This one is on the Pensacola News Journal, or the PNJ.com website. The headline, New Plane, New Show. Blue Angels gear up for a new era in F-18 Super Hornet. So, as the 2019 Blue Angels delight fans at air shows nationwide this year, 2 former Blue Angels have been busy laying groundwork for one of the biggest changes in the team's nearly 75-year history. Captain Ryan Bonacci, thanks for picking this one. Commander of the 2016-2017 Blue Angels, and Commander Frank Weiser, who flew with the team from 2008 to 2010 and again in 2016 and 2017, recently oversaw a team of experts helping the Blue Angels change airplanes for the first time in more than 30 years. The Blue Angels are tentatively scheduled to start flying the FA-18 Super Hornet in 2021, the team's 75th anniversary season as well. The move to the Super Hornet will mark for the first time the elite Navy and Marine fighter jet demonstration team has changed aircraft since it moved from the A4F Skyhawk to the FA-18 Hornet back in 1986. And both Bonacci and Weiser said the new aircraft will mean exciting changes in the demonstration and the new era for the Blue Angels. The jet is more powerful, especially at lower altitudes, so we believe that our manoeuvring will be more visible to the crowd and more impressive overall, Weiser said, in response to a series of emailed questions from the News Journal. That increased performance will allow us to alter some manoeuvres and better showcase the aircraft's very unique capabilities. Bonacci said, and Weiser did a lot of their work in flight simulators at Naval Air Station Patuxent River in Maryland. Please say that
you got
right.
it.
Yes.
You got Patuxent River right. It's Maryland.
And they first tried to recreate their existing FA-18 Blue Angels demonstration in the Super Hornet using the simulator. We were able to establish the Diamond, Solo and Delta maneuvers in the Super Hornet, and then from there start to really evaluate the difference between the Hornet and the Super Hornet, Bonacci said in an email. Along the way, we worked closely with the engineering experts at PAX, folks that have unmatched knowledge about the F-18 flight dynamics, engines, flight control systems, fuel systems, and airframe fatigue factors. The team configured an artificial field system in the simulator to mimic the 40-pound spring which the Blue Angels attached to their flight stick to provide the precision control needed to fly the tight formations that are hallmark of their flying. They also introduced engine flameouts, control failures and other unexpected emergencies in the sim to see how the Super Hornet performed under demands of the demonstration. He said that we wanted to understand what effects would be and ensure there is a safe procedure to handle any situation that could possibly arise, no matter how unlikely, Bonacci said. The Blues will still fly without G-suits, although some things will change. With the newer aircraft, other things will stay the same. The Blue Angels will continue to fly without the traditional G-suits worn by other fighter jet pilots when they change to the Super Hornet. The Blue Angels have special waiver from the Department of Defense to fly without G-suits because the inflatable bladders in the legs of the suits can interfere with the pilot's ability to control the flight stick and move the jet team into famous tight formations. The 6 jets will often fly within inches of each other. The Blues have always required a G-suit waiver in their jets going back to the early days because of where we brace our right forearm on our right thigh for precise flying and G-suit inflation interferes with precision control, Bonacci said. Blue Angels pilots use special breathing maneuvers and abdominal exercises to keep the blood in their upper body and to keep from passing out in high G maneuvers. The story goes on to explain some about the new software in the Super Hornet as well. And the Navy are to unveil the Super Hornet in 2021. So it's looking good to see the display. It'd be nice if they came over to the UK and put a display on.
Have they ever come over here?
I don't think they have.
I'm not sure.
I don't think they have.
Yeah, I know, because I know the Red Arrows have been over to the States a few
Yes,
times, haven't they? But
yeah.
I think they're going this season, aren't they? They're going
Yeah,
over
they
to
are.
the
I
States.
believe- States,
I think
yeah.
this year or next year, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so interesting, and is it the Thunderbirds? The other ones I'm thinking of. I don't know if they've ever come over here as well. I know Al's a big fan. I'd really like for them to see, to sort of see them.
And Matt.
Yeah, indeed. Yes. Next story. This is on the Warbird Digest, and it's good news for all aviation history enthusiasts, actually. And it's a great museum, one which is definitely on my bucket list, actually, for the tour aboard the Hawker. Is it Siddeley?
Siddeley, yeah.
Yeah, the Hawker Siddeley Nimrod R1 at RAF Museum Cosford. So the RAF Museum Cosford in Shropshire, England, is opening up one of their rare electronic surveillance aircraft to the public for a limited time starting today. Take a tour of the Hawker Siddeley Nimrod R1, one of just two of the type remaining, for a close look at the secret spy plane to get an idea for the important job that the RAF air crews were performing every day from the Cold War through to the war in Afghanistan. The RAF Museum press release continues. Returning in 2019, step on board the Nimrod X-Ray Victor 249 and learn about its intelligence gathering role in the Royal Air Force. You will gain an insight into the operational history of the aircraft, from its time as a maritime reconnaissance through to its conservation into a signals intelligence gathering aircraft, as well as hear about the crews on board and get to see some of its sophisticated surveillance equipment. As one of only 4 Nimrod R1 variants built, you can gain a rare insight into the RAF's intelligence capabilities. I won't go into the details in regards to when they're doing it, but strongly recommended. Apparently afternoon tours may be available on the day on a first come first served basis, it's an iconic aircraft, isn't it? And a chance to
Nimrod,
have a guided tour around it is definitely the way forward.
We're very lucky here in the east of Anglia, where me and Matt live here on the east coast, because if you remember, cast your minds back to our 100th episode
there was
Norwich
a Nimrod
Aviation
there, wasn't
Museum.
there?
The museum at Norwich here, just down the road from us, has a Nimrod in their grounds, a full, complete Nimrod, and you can actually go on board that and have a complete walkthrough through to the flight deck, which is really good. So
yeah, but what an unfortunate name for an aircraft, though, right? Being called a Nimrod.
Yes,
it's not very complimentary.
No, but
I always did kind of chuckle at that name. and you know what? I when I came into the Air Force, they were still flying, obviously, and it would always be funny because that was their call sign. They would come on, and they'd be like, Nimrod's on station, and you're like, okay, well, we have things like blade and knife and whatever, Axe 2-4, and then Nimrod 4-5 shows up in the stack. It's like, oh, okay. Nimrod.
Has somebody explained it? Have I missed what Nimrod is? Is there a meaning to Nimrod that I'm not familiar with then?
Oh, maybe there is in the U.S.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm beginning to wonder. I mean, I'm familiar with I'm familiar with a track from the Planet Suite that's called Nimrod. That's a piece of music, isn't it? It's from the classical music. Don't look at me so horrified, Carl.
You know what? I think we do have. We have yet another separation, because main man Micah is saying, does it not have the same connotation in the UK? And Pip in the chat room is saying a skillful hunter.
Well done, Pip.
Very far from a skillful hunter.
Yeah, I think we're on 2 different wavelengths.
Anyway.
Okay, so answers on a postcard, please. Podcast at planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast at planetalkinguk.com.
Remember, guys, we need to keep the non-18 rating.
Right, okay, we're trying very hard. Nev, have I missed something here?
No, I think there's certain things that just a bit like some of our humour, our American colleagues go, well, what's wrong with that? And we think it's extremely funny.
Fair point,
and vice versa, I'm
yes,
sure.
okay.
Aluminum. Anyway.
Stop.
So, the last story, Brian, it's a bit of
Pip has also said Nimrod, also God of War. You see, I like his style. Anyway, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, the last story, Brian, a bit of a worrying story, I think, if you're passenger.
Yeah, we get to take it back to the beginning, where it wasn't very happy news at the beginning of the military segment. I figure that's why you try and cut it all the time, but apparently not. Anyway, we struggled through it all. But a civilian passenger accidentally ejects from a fighter jet during a ride-along.
I beg your pardon?
This is not the best way to leave an aircraft.
Wow. Okay, certainly not manufacturer recommended anyway.
Yes, it's one way to get a tie, however.
Right,
that's true.
Yeah, very true.
You're the only pilot with a tie.
I know.
Sorry,
Again,
the
have I
only
missed
non-pilot
something?
with a tie.
But
When ejection seats are made by a company called Martin Baker,
Right.
and if you eject from an aircraft with a Martin Baker ejection seat,
Right.
you get a tie, don't you?
But I'm not sure
special
it's something
tie.
to be proud
Martin
of.
Baker tie.
Yeah,
Right, okay. I wonder, we need to find out, did he get his tie?
yeah. Carry on, Brian.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Well, if there's another company that makes seats besides Martin Baker, so potentially it had the other one. This
okay.
article doesn't say, so I don't know. But I think if I were to survive an ejection with a Martin Baker seat, I would wear the tie with pride.
Well, yes,
So,
there is that, yes.
yeah. Anyway, it says the vast majority of us, me being one of them, will never strap into the seat of a fighter jet, and the few who will or have probably have extensive military training to go along with it. I'd agree with that. Civilians rarely get the chance to ride along with military pilots in their planes, but it does happen under certain circumstances. Unfortunately, for one 64-year-old man who had the privilege of riding as a passenger in a French, is it Rafale?
Raphael.
It's Raphael?
Rafale.
All right, Raphael. Go with Armando.
Yeah, where's Dr. Steph in her French? We need her. Anyway, that French fighter jet, the experience ended far too soon and with considerable pain after his ejection seat triggered. Needless to say, this isn't supposed to happen.
Okay.
Well, it is if you command it, but if you don't command it, then
No.
sure. The Aerotime reports the unnamed passenger, I'd probably keep my name hidden too, was on a ride-along observation flight in the Rafale B fighter jet, which took off from someplace in France, I'm assuming, at
Saint-Didier.
That's what he said. Airbase in late March. For some reason, the man's emergency ejection seat deployed, sending him through the canopy and away from the jet. I really feel sad for the guy because the canopy didn't blow, apparently. So he went through the canopy.
Ow!
And I
That's
don't
gotta
think that's
hurt.
a design feature. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know if the canopy is supposed to blow on this jet or not. Anyway, I'm sure the chat room will probably have lots to say about this. The article continues, after descending back to the ground via parachute, a good way to go, he was quickly taken to a local hospital for injuries. The man reportedly hurt his back upon landing, and I'd say his pride, on the runway. Ouch. But otherwise, okay. Meanwhile, the pilot managed to return the plane to the airbase and landed safely. Well done him. He suffered cuts on his hands due to glass from the canopy after it had been shattered by the passenger's untimely ejection, but was apparently no worse for wear.
I bet he had a headache.
And a backache, apparently.
Yeah, I'm not at all surprised. Carlos found the tie, by the way, while you were talking this story. There we are. And there's a badge that you get as well, which I shall pop up in a moment. But yeah.
And Lane Street in the chat room has a great comment, which is, never mind the passenger, poor pilot had to land without a canopy.
Yeah, I mean...
A sunroof on the jet.
I mean, it's an optional extra I'm sure many people would quite like.
What, a roof?
Yeah, well, sort of...
A bit windy when you're,
well, this is it. I mean,
fighter jet
seriously,
without
that must have serious implications to the way that the thing handles if the roof has been taken off.
Well, yeah, you remember last year, I think it was late last year, there was an Israeli F-15 that landed without a canopy. And it sounded like it was an emotional event.
Nev, have you always fancied a sunroof in a fighter jet?
Well, no, but I don't really do that kind of aviating.
Right, okay.
I'm pleased to say I'm more of a straight and level kind of guy.
Right, sort of seat 1A type job. Yeah. If you could at all put it together. Oh well, there we are.
Surprised it's not took off. Like parachuting and stuff. There's some company somewhere that's going to start, having flights where you can go up in a fighter jet and eject.
Right.
Probably not. It's not going to take off.
It's expensive, I think, certainly. And I mean, I've seen how expensive it is to go up in a 2-seater Spitfire over at Duxford.
Oh, so, blimey, yeah.
You need to sort of take quite a hefty credit card with you if you're going to do that. So I can only imagine what 20 minutes in a jet fighter, an F-18 or something, is going to cost you.
Yeah,
that is a type of aircraft, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It is, yes.
There you go.
Well done, Matt.
Yeah, it's a proud day.
Damn. His military knowledge is overtaking his commercial. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's entirely Armando's fault. He's been gently drip-feeding
massaging you with new stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. There we are.
You always train your replacement, right?
Yeah. He means flying replacement as well.
I don't know what to do.
Good luck with that, Matt.
Yeah, I really don't.
So that is the last military story for this week. Thank you, Armando, as always.
Yay.
Yes, thank you,
Good
mate.
work.
Yeah,
well
no
done.
problem.
And so, for those of you watching the show, we'll listen. We have Brian Coleman on the show, and he's joined us this week to join us as a guest host, but also because he's got some interesting facts and stories to tell us about his travels on the Dreamliner, because he's travelled on the Dash 10. Now, I've done the Dash 8 and Dash 9, but not the Dash 10. So
assuming a Dash 10 is a newer one.
It's the longest version of the Dreamliner they do.
Okay.
Yeah. So Brian,
is that like a stretch limo, only the aviation equivalent, right?
Yeah, so the only airline, I believe, in the world, certainly in the U.S., is my favorite beloved United Airlines, and they are flying all 3 variants of the 787, and I now have been on all 3. So it was kind of fun.
So what's the difference between the 3 then? So if we take the Dash 8 for example, what's the how does that compare to the 10? What is the difference?
It's the smallest one, so I have some facts and figures here. So the Dash 10 is 18 feet longer than the Dash 9, and it's 38 feet longer than the Dash 8. Now, that might not seem like a lot. However, the Dash 10 can carry 66 more passengers than the Dash 9 and 99 more passengers than the Dash 8. So there's a tad bit of extra storage space for people, for these airlines to make money, and of course cargo as well.
I do.
Matt's going to bring up. He's got Matt's got the picture that United. I think they put it on their Twitter or Instagram feed not so long back, with all the different variants lined up in front of the United hangar. They've got the Dash 8, the Dash 9, and the Dash 10 at the top of the picture. But what was the 10 like then, Brian? From the passenger experience, I'm guessing you didn't fly in economy.
I did not, but a little bit about United first, and I think there's several things happening at United that I'd like to talk about. And one of them, because I have been upgrading their passenger experience, which is great and well needed. And one of the things is the lounge at Los Angeles International Airport. So they now have the Polaris lounge, and Polaris is the branding for the business class seats that are on this Dash 10 aircraft. And the lounge is really super nice, except you can only get into the lounge if you are traveling internationally on the or in Polaris class, which is unfortunate, but United's upgraded the regular lounge as well. So that's nice, and you can get into the lounge when you fly on the specific flights between Los Angeles and Newark and San Francisco and Newark. So United has special service called PS, or premium service. And what's different about this aircraft versus other aircraft on the route is, they're using this aircraft for certain select flights. So I went from Los Angeles to Newark, and typically this aircraft is reserved for international flights. So being on a domestic flight, that was unusual. The first class business class product, the Polaris class product, I'll just call it Polaris from now on, is really special because they have new seats that they've been touting for 3 or 4 years now. So the seat is truly spectacular and a nice seat, and it really gets United back up to the level of many international carriers that have a true first-class product. Maybe like Nev's much beloved BA seat that's going in the new 777Xs. So it's interesting being able to fly in a aircraft outfitted with Polaris seats. They also have another section of the aircraft called Premium Plus, and it's a true Economy Plus section. And it's very confusing because United has a product called Economy Plus, but that's different. So Premium Plus is the sort of expanded area of economy where the seats are wider, there are fewer seats per row, there's greater seat pitch. And if I refer to my facts and figures here, so the seat's 19 inches wide, and it has a 38-inch seat pitch, and they're in a 232 configuration. And Carlos, the very long way to get to the answer of your question is I sat in the Premium Plus section. So I was not upgraded. So although there are, how many business class seats? There are 44 business class seats in 11 rows of Polaris class. My upgrade didn't clear. And it's really interesting how many of these seats United is actually able to sell. And I've been saying for a while that United needs to upgrade the aircraft from Matt's favorite, the 757 that they're flying, to a larger aircraft, because every time I go on these PS flights from Los Angeles to Newark, business class is always sold out. And so seeing an aircraft with 44 seats and also having it sold out as well, great for the airline, not so great for the passenger. But I was able to get into the Premium Plus cabin for no additional charge, and that was definitely nice.
So how does that different then? How does that differ to ordinary class then?
Economy.
The economy, yeah.
So there's one less seat per row. Okay. So again, it's in the 232 configuration,
right?
As opposed to a 333. And the seat pitch, they have a leg rest. The seat pitch is better on the flight, and because I was on relatively early, they're supposed to have different meal service on the plane, and they didn't have that. So we were served just regular economy food. And I kind of understand it in that I didn't pay any extra for it. They weren't selling the seat as these Premium Plus seats. So right. I was just fortunate enough when I chose my seat to choose a seat in the Premium Plus section.
Okay.
And you're supposed to get an amenity kit as well. With eye shades and socks and hand lotion and whatever other stuff. But they didn't do that on this flight. The entertainment system, the seatback screen is actually a little bit larger than regular economy. And again, on United, in regular economy, there are two sections. There's Economy Plus, where you have... they advertise it as up to 5 inches of extra legroom. I've never seen seat pitch with 5 inches. Maybe they're counting the emergency row in that, but the regular section certainly doesn't. So you have more legroom. Other than that, everything else is the same. Oh, in the Premium Plus section, you're supposed to have complimentary alcoholic beverages as well, which is nice, whereas in economy you'd have to pay for them.
Right. Well, that's an advantage at least. So,
if you choose to consume alcoholic beverages, that's certainly nice having that in that cabin.
Too right.
But really being sectioned off in a little section, I've been saying this for a while, that the airlines are moving to a 3-cabin configuration. And the Premium Plus was indeed in a separate cabin. So it felt just like business class was. So, and again, I've been saying for a while that business class has now been renamed or first class has now been renamed business class.
I was going to say, actually, because you're saying the three classes, of course, and they used to have business and first class. Now, I mean, Nev, is that still a thing? Do you still get first class on a lot of BA's flights, or is it just is it just business class now?
Yeah, on the long haul sectors, there still is a first class section, but I think there's a definite move away from that, and I think a lot of the newer aircraft that are going to be rolled out will be business, premium economy, and economy, I would imagine. But there is still first class available on BA today. Trying to make the differentiator though between them is difficult. You can certainly do it on the price. I mean, it is extremely expensive to fly first class on BA, and trying to actually work out what the real difference is between that and business class. Well, would take a bit of doing, to be honest with you. But I was just going to ask you, Brian, what do you think that when they design these aircraft, obviously with the different cabin configurations, they don't really know how the seats are going to sell, I guess, until they start operating the aircraft in revenue service. Obviously, they get some idea of the load factors, but you don't really know what you're going to get until you start operating this. I wonder if the premium section that you were talking about, is that going to be quite a popular cabin to be in? Do you think?
Yeah, I certainly think it will be. It's been long anticipated across the entire fleet, having the new Polaris seats, and it's certainly disappointing when you get on an older 777-200, for example, that has the launch product, the hard product, and those seats are well worn and needed to be replaced a decade ago, and they're still selling them as a Polaris class product, and it's not. Having to step over someone when you're in business class is really unimaginable these days. You talk about the difference in first class versus business class. Certainly having direct aisle access is a huge part of that. And the new Polaris class seats, although the density is much greater than first class, every seat has direct aisle access, which is a really, really nice feature. I think most first class passengers were traveling alone, therefore they didn't so much... you were really separated. The seat pitch was massive in many cases, where in business class, the density was always much, much greater. But if you were traveling with someone and you wanted to have a conversation with them, it's really difficult, I find, in first class to do that. The business class seating was much more conducive to actually talking with your seatmate. Now with the direct aisle access, if you were traveling with, let's say, your spouse, and you wanted to have a conversation with them, it's really difficult because the seats are offset, and the ability to have direct aisle access really prevents you from communicating with your seatmate. Certainly in the window aisle configuration, depending on how they do the seats on certain aircraft, the middle section, it's more conducive to talking the way United does it on the Polaris seats. And Matt, did Carlos give you the URL that I sent over to him that shows some pictures of the seating?
No,
I think that's a no.
No.
Yes.
Oh,
dear.
Yeah, I sent over some nice pictures.
Did you?
The way United has it, two seats will be somewhat together. The row behind them will be split almost in a V shape, and then the two seats again will be close together. So you kind of have to choose your seat carefully if you're traveling with someone. Assuming, again, you actually want to talk with them.
I mean, there's always that guarantee that no, you don't really want to chat with. I suppose it's different if you're flying with a wife. But I mean, Nev. I mean, obviously you do a lot. Well, in fact, actually, both of you both do sort of flying for work quite a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll ask that question to Nev first. Do you actually sort of interact with your fellow passengers, or do you keep that down to a bare minimum?
Well, I'm British, obviously, so you know the answer.
Excellent,
to that
right?
straight away,
Absolutely. Don't be ridiculous. Yeah, it's like talking on the tube; it should be forbidden.
Or in an elevator. You do not speak under any circumstances.
No.
I mean, I have done that occasionally, but not very often, I've got to say. So it's not a problem for me. But I would imagine that if you were travelling with your spouse or something like that, then you would want to speak with them.
Or not, perhaps, because you had an argument in the car on the way. What about you, Brian? I mean, how would you feel?
I actually
because you strike me as a very sociable individual.
Being a travel extrovert and introvert in real life, but when I travel, especially on business, I really enjoy talking with my seatmate and finding out what they've done, and I've actually fostered some relationships, business relationships, and it really proved to be a useful tool in my business career. You just meet really interesting people doing really interesting things, going to places that you might not have thought about, or working in industries that you never would have considered before. So I actually miss the communication, and the isolation is I miss it. So
while you've been chatting, I've been doing a little price hunting on the interweb. And
price comparison.
Price comparison.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at researching flights, obviously, because me and Nev are off to Dubai in November for the air show. And I was just looking at if Nev was feeling kind of frivolous with the credit card,
with the Avios points.
With the Avios points, just if me and Nev were to fly first class to Dubai.
Oh boy,
with BA,
okay.
And it works out for me and Nev to fly first class from London Heathrow to London Heathrow to BA to Dubai with BA in first class, just a smidgen over £6,000. £6,000. No, for both of us.
Oh, right, okay. So
£3,000 each. That's in first. That's in BA first.
Okay, right.
And I looked also at United. Now, obviously, you can't fly direct from Los Angeles to Dubai. So I just done a flight from LA to London Heathrow.
Right.
Around the same time. So direct flight from London Heathrow, or Los Angeles to London Heathrow. This is on the -9 Dreamliner with United. And for me and Nev, because obviously we're going to fly from LA.
You're off to Los Angeles now, are you?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
We've been to see Brian.
Come for a visit. Yeah.
Right. We've been to see Brian, and we're now going to fly back. As well. And for me and Nev to fly in United's first class would set us back in dollars. So we'll convert it in just a second. But in dollars, it would come up at $21,182, which at today's exchange rate converts to £16,294 and 38 pence.
I mean, on the plus side, Nev, those Avios points will be outstanding. There's you got a lot of air miles
the tier points you could earn will be fantastic.
Yes,
but,
that's quite
amounts of money there.
United must be their first class product. Brian, must be one hell of a product for over $21,000.
No, I've only seen those prices on flights to Australia when there really was a true first class. I don't know what I'd really love to see what flight that is, because there isn't an aircraft that I know of that flies from Los Angeles to London that has a true first class.
This was. Let me just have a look at this. Was business on the way. Yeah, business class on the way out and first class on the way. This is LA to London Heathrow, UA 923, which is a 787-9 Dreamliner. 10 hours, 35 minutes.
Right,
non-stop.
so that's wrong pricing because they don't have first class cabin on that.
Oh.
Yeah, they only have business class seats.
It's probably the website they give us here.
Please
in the UK.
don't take this the wrong way, Carlos. But I don't care what it is. You're not going. That's it's taken a very long time for the Patreon, coffers. Absolutely. We'll need quite a few.
I'm now clicking on the review thing to revert that to economy.
Right.
To see what that comes up with economy.
Okay.
Maybe between $400 to $600, I'd imagine.
Here we go. So the economy Just loading results.
Well, this is riveting radio,
I know,
isn't it?
I know.
Wait, while you're looking that up, I just wanted to talk about the routes that this aircraft is flying, because right now, domestically, again, it's just between Los Angeles and Newark, or San Francisco and Newark. Really, all the flights internationally depart from Newark, which is really bad for me. So they're servicing Frankfurt and Tel Aviv. On March 29th, they will begin service to Paris and Barcelona. And then they will add flights to, it says to Dublin, but I find it really odd that they would actually fly this aircraft from Newark to Dublin. I wouldn't think that the load factors would be high enough.
Well, I think you might be surprised actually. You get a lot of people that fly. I may be wrong here. Somebody please correct me if I am. But I do know a lot of people who fly from, say, the UK to Dublin to then do the pre. What is it?
The immigration check.
Yeah, the immigration check at Dublin, because it's a much more straightforward. Nice. You know, so with that in mind, a lot of people may choose that route purely because they can do it'll save them so much time at the other end for the sake of a 45-minute flight from the UK to Dublin. So I could see that working, you know, being quite a popular route.
We're on it. We've got the figures back. The figures are back.
Are they? Right.
Yeah. So for me and Nev to have a trip to school and see Brian.
Poor Nev, he's just trying to mind his own business. Look,
I know, poor Nev. So me and Nev are off to see Brian. We've got return flights from Heathrow to LAX.
Oh, lovely.
In economy.
With
United.
No. Oh no, Nev.
It's $1,600, which converts into 1,241 UK pounds.
Wow.
Is that because you did it one way?
No, that's back.
What?
That's to come and see you and then fly back again.
No, that's still really. It has to be the day of the week. That's really expensive. It shouldn't be that much. I wouldn't pay that much. The other thing that I wouldn't pay for on this flight, especially with United, is internet access.
Oh. And
internet access for 1 hour is $11.99. For 2 hours, it's $16.99, and for the full flight, it is $24.99. And I find that just appalling because usually it doesn't work. And really, when I'm on the plane, I really want to disconnect and not be Nev's worst nightmare and talking to him. And I'll spend the rest of my time and just look out the window.
Indeed, which frankly is the best in-flight entertainment you could possibly imagine, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Staring out of the window, unless you're like me, where you're grabbing onto the armrest, closing your eyes, and hoping this thing will hurry up and land.
I'm the one sitting there with my tablet watching Air Crash Investigation.
Yeah, which is just weird, frankly. Why? What's wrong with you?
I was watching it this afternoon, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, 2 episodes back to back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry, boys and girls, but it is time to start wrapping up. Is there anything else you want to add, Brian, before we start to close up?
No, just I'm really happy that United's flying the Dash 10 domestically, so I have had a chance to fly on it without leaving the country. That was awesome. It's a great aircraft with all the benefits that the 787 comes to bring, with the lower cabin pressure, the higher humidity, the huge storage bins. So we saw in the other story about having them, 4 across, and you could actually get a lot of hand luggage up there. That part's really nice. It's really nice aircraft. So I'm very happy to see United add it to the fleet. I wish it was available in more airports than really just being hubbed out of Newark. I find that really unfortunate, but I think as they take more delivery of these aircraft, they'll expand it. So I was very, very pleased with the service. One of the things, since Carlos is so concerned about getting up in business class, a suggestion, a recommendation, row number 1 and row number 11, I'd actually avoid because of noise from the lavs and the galley. So there's a bit of noise there. However, just and keep it clean, guys. But there is one handicap lav on the aircraft that is huge. It's massive. You can easily roll a wheelchair into this lav. And with the shrinking lavs on all other aircraft, and I think Nev can probably confirm that some of the new ones, you can barely turn around in them. They are so incredibly small. So to see something so massive on this aircraft, that was definitely a nice addition. I was happy to see it.
I didn't know.
But one thing that I wanted to point out before you kick me off the air and do the final credits, there's been the church steeple that's been sitting next to me. So made out of Legos. Let's see if you can see it. They're truly Legos. This is a model of a church that is in Hamburg, Germany. The company that I've been working with doing the 3D work. The product's been released, and there are two websites now. One is called Craftplicator, and the other is called Brickplicator. And we take either files from the game Minecraft or any 3D file and turn it into a build plan so you could build the item out of Lego. And so we imported this church into the game of Minecraft, colorized it, added a whole bunch of really cool features to it, and then built it with Lego. So just wanted to do a little commercial here with. I
definitely need that in my life.
Cool.
That is pretty cool. Look, guys, we're going to have to start wrapping up. Not least because it's Good Friday here, and Mother is cooking downstairs.
I can smell
the smell.
I had to shut the studio door.
We've had to shut the studio door because it's so hot in here. Because it's the temperature went above 5 degrees, so it's like an oven in here now. But Mum's cooking hot cross buns, which is lovely. Very topical, but it's driving us bananas, frankly, so we need to go and eat those.
So that is where we are going to bring the show to a close. But before we go, don't forget, for those of you watching, we are having our big P2UK and Plane Safety Podcast meetup at Duxford Aviation Museum on the 12th of May. That's
Sunday,
the 12th of May, on a Sunday. For those of you guys who we're going to see there, hope to see loads of you there. I know we're all looking forward to it very much, and fingers crossed the weather will be amazing, because I know it will be, because we're there, so it's going to be good.
Yes.
So join us there.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, big thanks to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room. All the guys and girls in the chat room been having a mass discussion in there this evening. All good to see you in there. And a big hello to all there's a few new people I see in the chat room today as well, so good to see you guys and girls in there. So thank you. And not forgetting as well, everyone who downloads the show as an audio podcast as well, thank you very much to you guys as well.
Absolutely.
So guests, Brian, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
It's good to have you back on. And Armando, always good to have you on the show, our awesome, illustrious host as well. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Anything nice planned this week, Armando?
Flying.
Well, it's I'm glad that I made it through the entire show, because we are under a tornado warning here in this part of North Carolina and South Carolina.
Jeez. Okay. Happy days.
So that being said, though, yes, I as long as the weather clears up and it holds out tomorrow, Miss Megan, Dr. Steph, and I are planning on taking an Arrow up to lunch. So hopefully we can get that flight in. Yeah, go out there for lunch, and then probably the bigger news is we have our PTUK media credentials approved for Oshkosh.
Yay!
Yes. So we'll have the backstage pass, and we'll be back with the band.
Yeah. Can't wait. That's good. I'm looking forward to that.
He's got his uniform to wear and everything as well, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah. He doesn't have to wear it, though. I should just stress. Bless him, if he wants to wear something a little less conspicuous. Brian, up to anything much this week? Sorry.
Just some house projects, and then instead of an Easter dinner, going to go over to some friend's house and have an Easter lunch. So kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah,
haven't seen this group of friends in a while. So
fantastic.
Yeah, looking forward to catching up.
Indeed. Nev, you're visiting the mother-in-law.
Yes, that'll be tomorrow, and then on Thursday of next week, I'm off to Budapest for a few days,
as you do,
for work.
Yes,
and I've never been there before, so I'm looking
indeed.
forward to that.
He's had to
Very
give his
much
apologies
indeed,
for
so-
next week as well.
Yes.
Yes, sadly.
Just you three of us next week
Yeah,
then.
absolutely. And Carlos, where are you off to?
Mother and father-in-law's tomorrow.
Oh, lovely.
I know.
That'll
I
be
know.
good. Excellent.
I'm
Anything
gonna
else?
be
sort of
raiding
like
the
over
biscuit
Sunday,
barrel when I
Monday?
get there.
Stop it.
No, I don't know, because we're off work, aren't we, Monday?
I know.
So, yeah, I thought I might do a lot of nothing.
Oh, right. Okay. My favourite.
Wash the
time.
TriStar van, I think.
Oh, dear. Right. Okay.
Muck out Gemma's car.
Right.
You know, the usual.
Wow.
What about you, Matt? What you got planned?
No, not a lot. We're just I've got a barbecue here tomorrow.
Ooh.
I know. So I've got my best friend, the long-suffering Jill, and their dog Grouse, who you met earlier, because I'm looking after their dog while they're away in Portugal from next Saturday. So we're just sort of seeing how Alfie and Grouse get on, because Grouse is new to the family. Just to sort of see how he gets on with Alfie. And basically, earlier today they sort of nothinged each other, which is fine by me, frankly. It's just so they could just sort of manage. But no, that really is it. So, Carlos, if you'd like to do the honours and close up, please.
Yeah, so that's it for episode number 265 of the show. Have a great Easter break holiday if you've got time off. Enjoy the weekend. Take care. And from me, Carlos, and here in the studio, it's goodbye.
And everybody else, it's time. Let's say in unison, it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Fly safely.